5 Chevrolet. The parade is beginning to get underway here in Bostwick, Georgia. North Georgia Two-Cylinder Club is the Spencer. Did you notice that dog in the truck? In the fire truck? Morgan County has some really nice firefighting implements, and I'm sure they use them quite often. Oh, brand new John Deere. Representing the county and the city of Bostwick. Check that convertible with the Grand Marshal of the parade here in Bostwick, Georgia. And the namesake of the parade is the Cotton Festival, and you can see some displays of the cotton on that particular trailer. Oh, look at the John Deere toys. He's loaded down with them. A little political advertising also here. Pulled by a brand new Kubota tractor. Santa Claus, this time of year, he's always in great demand. In a little Mini Cooper, well, a cute little outfit. Everybody enjoys an old John Deere 6410. That's an inline engine tractor. All right. New Mahindra. I think that is the old Farmall that's now made in India. Farmall hadn't been around with us now for quite some time, but you still see quite a few, and I'm hoping we'll find some in this particular parade. Pickups are also always demand in and around farms, and we get a good look at these as they come around. Most of them have all been raised a little bit, make it easier to get around on the farms. A lot of Chevrolets. Here comes a Dodge. The old Ford, the Bronco built by Ford, look how small it is as compared to what some of the units like that are today. a restored Chevy tractor pickup. A good commercial for Christmas trees and a rebuilt and restored pickup. Very unusual to have one like that. Good control. Death to the pest. A few Mustangs and other units here that get a good view of them as they've been restored. Yeah, that's an early Mustang there. Restored. What a beautiful Model 8 truck. Nice little pickup. Consider the size now as what they are today. You know, we do have a good crowd today. What a beautiful day for everybody to come out and witness this parade, because the weather is so great. It's probably around 75 degrees with a bright sunshine, and we really enjoy being out in this kind of weather, especially this time of year. This pickup here is one that you ought to recognize. It's got the tag on the front that shows the John Deere. It's a farm here in Bostwick, Georgia, is where that tractor works. You know, John Deere has had a real presence in around Walton County, but especially outside of Monroe. And you see what's coming right now is a two-row John Deere cotton picker. The farm that was in Monroe was known as Deere Acres. It was live, and about 1,500 acres that was farmed. It was a training farm really for John Deere. And one of the first cotton pickers that Deere ever made was a one-row mounted on a 60 tractor. And it was tested and run in the cotton fields around Monroe. Go back to the 40s and you see a John Deere G, which is the biggest of the two cylinders back in those days. B, which was one of the small farms, and the one that John Deere sold the largest number. 4020, which is a classic end cylinder with 6 cylinders, and it was introduced in 1960. John Deere went from a 2-cylinder tractor in 1959 and 60 to an inline engines, 4s and 6s. This is a butt head tricycle. Hey! You notice that it has a PTO on the back of it and a drawbar, but no 3-point hitch. 3-point hitches came along in the early and late 50s. Listen to that sound. Goes back, a D model is goes back to 1928, still 2 cylinders. 3020, which is the small model as compared to the 4020. It was a 4-cylinder has 3-point hitch, power steering, as well as other piston attachments that will attach to it. Massey Harris, one of the tractors that was competition to Deere. Goes back to 4430, it's very popular back in the 70s and 80s. 4440, which is a very popular model along in the late 70s and 80s. All 6-cylinder diesels, 3-point hitches, all the modern implements. Cabins, sometimes they're heated as well as cooled. Oh, a Ford tractor, but with inlay 8-cylinder V-type engine. High crop. You notice that it's got a lot of clearance underneath it. That allows it to cultivate and to plow farm crops that are high and to get over it without knocking them down. Oh, I love that sound. I could always find it in the field. If you were looking for the owner, you could hear that tractor and you'd go toward it. Back when I was working with Deere, there's no such thing as a round hay bale. Everything was square bales, anywhere from 50 to 80 pounds each. Beautiful farm hall. Super M is the one I remember so well. Demonstrated a lot of John Deere's in the field at the same time with when the M was there. Turbo began to show up in the late 50s and 60s, and a lot of these units are turbocharged, as well as has cabs, air conditioning, 3-point hitches, and big tires. You'd be surprised at how much traction and how much flotation you can get using the high flotation tires. That's an M, the MT. You notice this MT is a certain type tractor that John Deere made after the World War II, and they call it a T, which is a tricycle. All these B models have all been restored. The first one there was goes back to the late 30s, early to late 30s, and then in the 50s, and that one goes back to the late 20s and the mid 30s. In the 40s, that's a B model, has the flag is waving, and has a late model homemade type 3-point hitch. Yeah, that's a 24 model. Every kind of unit you can think of. I don't know exactly what that lifts, but it's mounted on a quite big tractor. Oh boy! A model. Pulling the kids around so they can enjoy the ride and looking at all the people that's here in Bostwick that's enjoying the parade. You know, I mentioned early in the broadcast about John Deere having a presence in Monroe. Monroe, Georgia. They were the owners of a training farm, and all new hires at that time were sent to Monroe for training in the tractors. We had several units there that we used every day, and a lot of them came down were also models that Deere was getting ready to introduce, and we put some hours on those so we'd find out if there was any bad spots on them, any errors that could be corrected before they were finally made. 40-20, that straight stack. Look at the wheel weights on the rear axle to give it more traction, make it grip the ground better. In continuation of a Deere acres in Monroe, Georgia, we harvested all kinds of things. We had animals there as well as tractors to do the harvesting. And we built lakes. At one time, the biggest lake was 55 acres. And it was used as water source for the city of Monroe, as well as all the employees and others would gather there to have a picnic around one of the lakes, and you do a little fishing. And the people from the Atlanta branch would come down and join in and have a day of festivities there. In 1958, which was the year they had the Farmerama, there were 225 John Deere tractors in that parade, and they took people around to the different sites where they were harvesting the different crops, the corn, the cotton, and the rotary cutters that were cutting grass. Hay bales were being produced. So it was a good training for all the new hires at Deere. If you want to learn more about the Deere Acre site in Monroe, go to the Monroe Museum, which is located in the old City Hall in the city, downtown, the city of Monroe. Makes that sound because it has a gutted muffler, just a straight stack. That's one of the first around that I've seen in the parade, but that is a orchard tractor. You see all that stuff around it is protect the tractor as well as protect the peaches, oranges, and trees and so forth, as well as the operator. Well, they do sound good. That two cylinders are popping and everybody can see it. A 320 now, that is one of the smallest of the Deere tractors back in the 50s. It was replaced in 1960 along with all the other tractors to a four-cylinder, and it was a 1010. 2010 was still a four-cylinder, but it was also 40 horsepower. The 4020, we saw one that come through that was a restored 6-cylinder diesel, and it was around anywhere from 95 to 110 horsepower.
They're like, we'll go around it. They broke down.
Yeah, here comes a Ford.
I would do that too.
960. Ford was a real popular tractor back in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Alice Chalmers. Big International. Has all the nice conveniences on it.
Thank you, Daddy.
It's just amazing how things change over time. International even had a truck division and sold quite a bit, and it was quite popular back in the 30s and 40s and 50s. Seeing all these tractors bring back a lot of memories, and also shows the young people in the crowd how tractors used to look and how they were used. And how they were used on the farm for different chores. That was a high crop, but it's used for truck crops. You notice that this one has wide front end. They began to come along in the mid-50s and 60s, but especially in the 70s and 80s, because there was a problem with being upset. They were wide front end, makes it more stable as they work the different areas of the farm. That's a 720, which is the biggest, one of the largest farm versions of the 2-cylinder tractors. And he had it at low RPM. What a big tractor. John Deere 8400, even bigger than that today. With dual rear tires, and they even have, nowadays, new tractors will have dual front tires as well as dual back. That gives it more traction and can be used in softer ground areas. That's one of the new models called McCormick. That's the first one I've seen of those. But you notice that the exhaust is on the outside as well as the air cleaner. It is air conditioned, heated, just like riding in your car to be comfortable and to get rid of so much dust. Whether you believe it or not, this was a tractor that was used on the farm, but it was also used for traveling to and from the city to pick up groceries and other things. It's an M&M, Minneapolis Moline, made in Canada. Another high crop. High crop was a one used that was used to farm and to cultivate things like tomatoes and other crops that was used to go to different areas to sell, farmers markets and things like that. It's hard to amaze how they have changed over these years. A lot of computer stuff in them now to keep them running and to try to get rid of pollution. I heard the story, I don't know how it is, but I heard the story after Russia invaded Ukraine. They tried to confiscate some of the tractors at a John Deere dealer, and Deere made them all immobile because they had a way to do that, to immobile all the electronics on that on those particular new tractors. Late 20s and early 30s, Marlboro F20. Boy, it runs good. Basically just a drawbar tractor. Ford was a good utility unit that was used around the farm, pulling trailers, like trailers for bales of hay and feeding the animals and things of that nature. I mentioned the M was one of the first tractors that Deere manufactured after World War II. The M was a small tractor with 20 horsepower. But it was good to use around the tractor, and they wanted to compete with Ford a little bit too. He's got the engine on that Farmall. He's got the engine revved up, but he's got it in a low gear, so that he can travel at a slow speed. And he spent a lot of time getting it rebuilt too, refurbished. It's not as shiny, but it does run good. I'm assuming that they use it every day on the farm and in the dairy too. Oliver at one time was a very popular tractor. I saw quite a few of them on the different farms that I visited back in my days with Deere. Another G with a straight stack. Here at Poppin, 360, I think it. It had big cylinders in those, 300 and I think it was 29 cubic inches in the two cylinders. Oh, I tell you, that's a real classic there, 420 diesel. Got a 3-point hitch with a quick hookup. Massa Harris, which is still manufactured today. I think it's manufactured in England. Kubota, which they have a factory in Gainesville, Georgia. Now where they build that bigger tractor by there, I'm not sure, but it has a hitch on the front so you can hook the blade, bucket, or attachment to pick up round hay bales. Look at the axle. On the rear axle, you notice there's a lot of space on the outside. Those tires can be adjusted to whatever the of the row crop that's being harvested and cultivated and fitted between the rows. That one has been modernized with a V8 engine and the exhaust on the outside. A lot of people like to do that, and they use them for drag racing and other chores. And the make noise as that one is doing. Wide front axle, and that's a high crop. High clearance is written on the side of it, and an MV, which is the model of that particular high crop model. During World War II, you know, the tractor factories was allowed to build certain tractors because people had to eat, they had to have food, and a lot of farms would buy the tractors, and that's why that one was a 43 model. One of the popular Ford that horn is not part of the tractor, thank goodness. Good display of farm tractors built by Ford, different models. Most of them goes back to the 50s. You know, this parade is sanctioned by the Georgia Two-Cylinder Club, but it's not just for John Deere two-cylinder tractors. It's for any antique tractors that and the people that want to show them off can be entered into the tractor, as well as members of the club. I'm not sure what that one is, but it looks like a Model A that cut down. You just saw a 950, which was back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, a unit that Deere marketed, very reliable, very popular, with quite a few sales. 950 was the biggest of that particular size, run about 27 to 30 horsepower, and it was all built in Japan and shipped to the U.S. and reassembled with tires, front ends, and implements. The 3-point hitch implements was all assembled at the dealerships. Front-end loader is a very popular unit in small tractors where they can use it around the farm for moving things around. That particular one is a will fit, one that the manufacturer himself, or had a welding shop do it for him. That's still a two-cylinder, even though it's a John Deere, and it was used around the farm for moving trailers and things around. B model John Deere was also the most popular of the two-cylinder sizes. It was built back in the 30s and 40s. It was also the least expensive.
Of course.
Some of the very first ones, we talk in the early 30s, that we sold for something like $900 to $1,000. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that it looks like the parade is about over. People are beginning to move around and get a look. Now you can also see these tractors up close if you walk down the way the traffic is flowing. They are parked down there for the participants of the parade to see. I've enjoyed looking at the tractors. I've enjoyed visiting with the different ones around that own the tractors. So what a beautiful day to have the parade, and we're looking forward to one next year. You take care, and we will visit with you next year. Thank you, and so long.